Nothing to worry about. Happy election day, everybody. So I'm going to go top of the hour here. We're going to get started. Notice of special meeting, Green Mountain Water and Sanitation District, January 28, 2022. Notice is hereby given that the Board of Directors of the Green Mountain Water and Sanitation District of the County of Jefferson, State of Colorado, will hold a special meeting at 6 p.m. Tuesday, June 28, 2022. At 13919 West Utah Avenue, Lakewood, Colorado, 80228. This meeting will be held for the purpose of conducting such business as may come before the board. This meeting is open to the public. Virtual meeting option for those who may not be able to attend in person. The district will offer the option of participating in this meeting by a video/conference call. To attend, please go to https://USC06web.zoom.us//895-3322-5776 or call 669-900-688 and enter the meeting ID 895-3322-5776. To troubleshoot issues with the connection at the time of the meeting, please follow the following link, https://support.zoom.us/HC/EN-US/sections 2//200305-593 troubleshooting. If you still experience issues, email customer service at greenmountainwater.org and our IT staff will assist you as soon as possible. The district does not discriminate on the basis of race, age, national origin, color, creed, religion, sex, sexual orientation, or disability in the provision of services. People with disabilities needing reasonable accommodation to attend or participate in a district board meeting can call 303-985-1581 or email customer service@greenmountainwater.org for assistance. Please give notice as far in advance as possible so we can accommodate your request. Agenda item number 1, call to order, declaration of a quorum. Jeff Baker present.
Todd Hooks present.
Dave Wickman, sort of here.
Karen Morgan present.
Roger Wendell present.
All 5 directors are present in the boardroom, and I will declare a quorum. We will close agenda item number 1, open agenda item number 2. Directors matters, disclosure matters. Do any of the directors have anything to disclose?
If I could interrupt you guys, is there anyone else present with you today?
One guess.
Hold on. Can you introduce yourself? Can you hear me? Hello? I think this is CCG.
Yep, I'm just trying to get any other attendees from
So
the
you're
board
from
online.
CCG, right? Can you hear me?
Yes.
And so you're the minutes recording. So these are the directors. I'm Jeff Tyus, the district manager. This is Jesse, IT manager, and Dave in the back is a resident and an employee. So that's everybody.
And the resident's name is what? Sorry?
David.
David. Do you have a last name?
Huskins, Huskins.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
If you have any questions, Stanley, you can email me as well, and I can get you names later too.
Thank you, Jesse. Sounds good.
Sorry.
Okay. Any directors matters, disclosure matters? Okay. Yes.
Well, I was just gonna, I mean, one of the things I was, and I don't know if this is time to say it, but like when we were reviewing the audit and I was going over it, I mean, the majority of the audit of the financials is actually the pension. And the pension is provided by the state of Colorado. And so one of the things I wanted to, I guess, just kind of have on the record was initially the para pension is much probably the best pension plan in the entire state. An average corporate pension is about 35% of a person's ending salary. A para pension can be 85% of a person's ending salary. So it's can be 2.5 times that of a normal person. And so years ago, I mean, one of the things, I guess, in wages as far as moderation was that there was an offset that the people at the state level were not going to receive the highest wages. And part of that was due to the fact the pension is far greater than any other segment of the population's pension. And so I guess I just wanted us to remember that, and doesn't mean that no salary increases, or I guess I'm just saying that it is the combination of both things, I think, need to be considered as we go through all the raises and other things.
Anything else you want to add to that?
That is it.
I'm gonna, Danley, Dylan Woods just walked in. He is the district attorney.
Thank you.
Strange, doesn't the
District
district attorney?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Not
attorney for the
prosecution.
district.
It's my third,
Districts,
yeah.
got to add an apostrophe, yes, on that.
Yes.
All right, I'm gonna close agenda item 2 and open up agenda item number 3, approval of additions to or deletions from the agenda. Do we have any of those? We have none, so I will close agenda item 3. We'll move into public comment, limit 5 minutes per person. Per pass motion of the Green Mountain Water and Sanitation Board of Directors, May 11, 2021. Members of the public wishing to address the board during the public comment period are asked to keep the comments civil and related to the items in the agenda or to the conduct of the district business. Members of the public wishing to address the board will be recognized by the board to maintain proper decorum. Since Green Mountain Water and Sanitation District Board values your input, we always offer additional opportunities for the public to provide comments by using the district's email system or by phoning into customer service in the event they do not get on during the meeting during the period set aside for public comment. So we have one person in the room, and I don't know if we have anybody online. Would anybody like to have their public comment? Anybody online? Okay, gone. I'm going to close public comment, and then we are going to move into agenda item number 5, discussion on options of pay for Green Mountain Water and Sanitation District staff due to the state of the economy. Who put this together? You did the agenda.
Yes, sir.
All right, well, I guess I'll yield the floor to you.
Well, thank you, guys. Thank you very, very much for being here. I know it's a special meeting. Thank you for discussion on this. I know it's a heavy discussion. And so we came up with the idea of the state of the economy is, you guys know better than I do, is, we have this record inflation, this 4-year inflation, and interest rates are increasing and energy rates are increasing dramatically. And a lot of the surrounding districts are implementing one of these things. Most of them are doing like one-time inflationary bonuses. Denver Water just did it. Black Canyon Water's looking at doing it. Arapahoe Water just did it. So that's why we brought this up. I apologize for the misunderstanding. In the mid-year, I know people are saying, well, wait a minute, usually cost of living raises are giving at the end of the year, which is true. And then we got to see what's going on there. And I didn't want to turn this into a massive study now, just based on the state of the economy, to see if there's any options that we could provide for the employees based on the state of the city economy. So that's why we open it up. And then, the next slide, just, you guys probably seen this, this is just what's been going on, since 1981. You've got this record inflation, and there's there's all the numbers based on the cost of goods, whether you're buying, what you're buying. And to add to this too, since we're coming off of COVID, we are in stress where the labor force isn't too strong either. So we're coming off of, it's hard to buy supplies too. So we're having problems with scarce, fire hydrants are a year out. A lot of piping, PVC piping that's made with, a lot of oil, a lot of that's out too. And we're, talking to a lot of the water districts, people are struggling to retain employees. So there's a lot of variables besides the inflationary cost is the scarcity of resources and the retention of employees. And the next slide is just a graph. So that's why we put together the options and discussion based on if there's anything the board could approve in mid-year before we go into the end of the year to discuss either actual cost of living raises. So that's why we put together the options. So there's the options that we're open for other options too. So that's why it's written the way it is. So the options, those listening, are performance raises, inflationary adjustments, one-time inflationary bonuses, eliminate insurance premium, no changes, or other.
I guess my first question would be, so what would be the insurance premiums, but would that not vary based on a person and their family? And
Yes, sir.
so roughly what would those run?
So family of four, it's based on both their salary and the number of families. So family of four would range, I couldn't give you the exact number, but it's going to range between $100 to $150 a paycheck.
So are you paid weekly, bi-weekly, monthly?
Bi-weekly.
Okay.
Every other Wednesday.
Yeah, so bi-weekly. Yes, sir.
So I have a question. What would happen if this rate of inflation continues? Unfortunately, I'm old enough to remember the inflation of the late 70s.
Yes, sir.
And it seemed to go on forever. Would we be doing this twice a year? Or would we revert back to once a year performance increases and inflationary increases?
Well, that graph, that's a 10-year graph. So if we maxed out, we could have put the max graph on there and it looked like the spread from the 1978. Like if we took that graph and downloaded it, it looked like it was a 3-year period at the most. So it looks like inflation goes up and spikes and it starts going down, but it's going down. It goes up and down over a 3-year period based on history. So we might, let's say this spikes, let's say we're going to spike out. Keep in mind, nobody can predict this, but you guys know better than I do. So let's say this spikes out like 10%. It might take 1 to 2 years to slowly go back down to reach a steady state based on historical data.
So that would probably bring up my next question.
Yes, sir.
I have typically found in overseeing the finances for different companies, once you give people raises, they don't want to give them back. And so if the inflation was for a year and we pump everybody up for it, like I'm in private industry, I take pay cuts. I've typically never seen that in the government or in a utility. So I guess by just giving raises, I'm just talking me. I just don't want to set a precedent that every time something comes along, we bump everybody. And the next thing you know, the people's wages in the real world, not that you're not in the real world, but say in the non-government sector are at X, and the people in the utility or government section are X plus 20%, which to me, honestly, is not right. And I've seen that like in the Colorado State Legislature, and that's why I brought up the benefits, is that it used to be, state wages used to be really, really low, like really low, like probably 80% of non-government employees. Now they actually make probably 15 to 20% more than private sector. And that's because they did away with the portion that when the wages went down in the private sector, their wages didn't go down. they stay or they move forward. So you're always in a forward-looking position, which is great for you as employees. It's bad for me as a financial person having a fiduciary duty to mind the budget.
Yes, I understand completely, and I do track that because I have a lot of close family that work for the federal government at the Fed Center, and their wages have been keeping up with inflation forever, and so with their wages have gone up more so. And plus, I worked for the private sector for over 20 years for the Coors Brewing Company, so I saw their wages going up faster than my wages. So I couldn't agree with you more. That's why we put in these options too. And
Right.
and keep in mind, we do have these paid bands where, you know, if the typical employee here makes between $18 to $31 an hour, you've seen all the bands that are sent out. So there is room in that band too, but there, you know, there's other options too. Like if, you know, let's say you decided to give inflationary raises now, and then you decide not to give them at the end of the year too. So that's one way to adjust as an option.
Right.
I have another question. As far as this district itself, if the economy got really bad, would there ever be a layoff considered in this district? Would an employee ever lose his or her job because of the economy?
But
It seems to me most everything we have is fixed.
yeah, when it comes to the field of public utilities, it's hard to, you know, lay people off because you're still, no matter what, you're still pumping the same amount of water. You're still taking the same amount of water. So, and
Yeah, I would add that to the pension benefit. You know,
Well, that's where, so I mean, I guess the whole point of my just sub-points is that I actually agree that you can't just eliminate employees. On the other hand, there has to be value in knowing you're not being eliminated. Like if Dylan's law firm has 12 associates and they run out of business, he's probably not gonna have 12 associates. He might have 6 associates. Like, I'll just use my architectural firm. We had 25 people. When 2008 hit, we ended up with 10. So 15 people, and I'm not saying, I don't want to say any of this to beat any of you up.
sure.
I mean, the point is, I want to be as fair and as reasonable while being, you know, I guess, holding my fiduciary duty to take care of you guys, to retain the employees, and to not give the farm away at the same time.
well, I couldn't agree with you more. And you hit the nail on the head. That's why I went into the water and wastewater field of work when I was 20 years old, was because of job security, even at Coors. So Coors had a lot of layoffs, but I never got laid off because I worked in water and wastewater. And then when I left, I was able to still maintain that field of work. So we agree with you. You're 100% correct. You're in the field of public water utility for job security, and hopefully, you know, like you said, para is good for Green Mountain Water. A lot of other water utilities do not have para, so para is a great retirement. But you know, para tables change too. Like, you know, I came in to para now as you know, I'm not that young, so my tables, you know, the most I can do is probably 20%, you know, based on my table. So the tables have changed with para based on when you're coming in and when you're leaving. But it is a great thing if you're coming in at a younger age and you can move up those tables. So yeah, there's no doubt. Everything you're saying is 100% correct, and we support it. And that's why we came up with options.
Well, I'm gonna rip off a whole litany of things here, so everyone just kind of bear with me. So I did manage about this approximate size district. So I had 20-some employees under me. Ironically, almost same type of budgets and everything. And there was just one manager. Okay, I mean, there was a lot of stuff to do there. I was with those employees for 35 years, so you know, I understand you do bond, they become your employees become your family. And it is difficult to talk about these kind of things, especially at a manager level or even higher, you know, one level up at a director's thing. So bear with me on this. I don't want to sound like I'm cold-hearted, because I'm really not, but we've talked about the fiduciary responsibility of the board. I did pull up, I looked at some things too. I'm first off, I want everyone to understand something. This is not my wheelhouse. I am not an HR type person. I talked to all of you. I'm claiming I'm not comfortable with this because before I did what you did, you're good at what you do. I'm good at what I did. I'm not good at this. I don't know if you're good at this. It's not our wheelhouse. It's not. So it's a precarious position to be in. And I always had HR, which I hated HR, to be honest with you. They were, for lack of a better word, I always thought they were kind of evil, but they were kind of a necessary evil, because without them, I wouldn't be able to work on those kind of things. I wouldn't have a process or understanding of anything. So last year, I pulled up some data, and the national average increase for Americans was 3.2%, and we went with the 4% COLA. This is my 5th year as a director, and I have requested, for this very reason, job descriptions with pay ranges, and I still don't have it 5 years later. We have no performance process. One of the customers online sent an email to the directors about why are we having discussion about salaries mid-year. And, you know, there's this fiduciary thing kicks in again. This is not typical. Nothing's typical in America anymore. So, but we are the voice of the people that elected us. So we have to be sensitive to that. And we also have to make sure this district remains vibrant, healthy. I have recommended, or I would like to recommend, that we look at bringing in an HR group to kind of fundamentally build some kind of a process and identify the best process and the ways for this size district, this many employees, this type of employees, because everyone's different. This is kind of in my world, you have craft people in the field, and you have office staff or administrative staff. So we've got a little bit of a blending. And then getting into your mission, you know, what is the mission of this district? You kind of, you know, identify what kind of an HR HR opinion that they might have for this district. So, and one of the things, just kind of a comment. So I would recommend we get a couple of HR firms in here just to talk. I think that's a smart thing to do. We've never done it. This comes up every year, and I'm never comfortable with it because I know we have this great staff, and discussing this every year the way this is, I don't think it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable for the staff to hear this. It's uncomfortable for the board to do this. So I wish we had a better process. I will say with Kristen, when she pulled up some of her data, she pulled it from Denver Water, which they typically, I guess, in the world of water and sanitation, or water specifically, they typically tend to pay high. They're a bigger, larger organization. But typically when I was working negotiations, because I had a large union staff, we would have to get a high salary range for typically the type of employees, crafts that I had. And I would have a low range, and then there was some in the middle, and we had to kind of look at all these different offsets. So I don't think we've addressed that. That's all I have. I'm not comfortable how this, you know, these discussions go, because they can't be comfortable, because I don't think we have a good process.
Yeah, I apologize for the miscommunication. I meant for the state of the economy at the present inflation rate, not to, you know, we've been looking at the past data that Dr. Kristen Buck has generated and graded the past district managers, as in my explanation report I sent out. So we were hoping to do that by the end of the year, but due to the state of the economy now with other water districts implementing inflationary bonuses, we thought it'd be a good idea to bring it up now, but we could provide, and Director Wickman has already referred a wonderful HR service that was referred to by Ann Terry from the Colorado Special District Association. So that's one option there too. So we can work on that.
Any other comments from the directors?
Well, as you know, as much my opinion of myself as I have, I realize there's not much I know. And this is one of those areas, so I'm hesitant to jump in. And I'd like to defer to those of you who've been at this for a while. But I did try to do my homework, and so I did talk to that Ann Terry from the SDA, and I spoke to her for an hour on a number of things. And so she gave me the copy, which we all have, the SDA manual that's got a section on this stuff. And so pass that on to you. And I tried looking at it, and it's like, even though I'm an economist, I still look at numbers and, oh my God, it's a bunch of numbers. So, I'm just not comfortable getting into the weeds. But anyway, I asked her if she had some suggestions. If you don't know what you're doing, you try to get somebody to help you, like go to a lawyer, go to an expert. Well, in this case, who's an expert? I don't know, not me, not anybody I know here. So an HR firm. So I was asking for some recommendations, and this Ann Terry gave me this one company. I got on the phone with them this morning. Sorry about so late, but anyway, timing is what it is. And so I chatted with her for an hour, and a couple things come to my mind. On the one hand, I don't want to do anything that we don't need to do because it's spending extra money. But sometimes there's penny wise and pound foolish. And sometimes it's better to spend a little more at the beginning, get it right forever, or at least for a long time. Then you can coast on it. And so I was asking, have we done this before? And what I'm hearing, it doesn't look like we've had an outside party. And I like the idea of an outside party because at some point you're so close, you can't see the forest or all the trees. And secondly, it gets to be real political for us. It's like, we don't want the employees to feel that we don't appreciate them. We don't want the constituents to feel like we're neglecting them. And so it's just kind of a tough situation. Well, we get paid the big bucks to be in a tough situation, but I think we would have more credibility if we relied upon some experts. And so then it's not so much, Wickman's gut feelings, which are worthless. It's like we got some real outside science. And so sort of thinking if science come in, you got something to work with. So I kind of like the idea of bringing somebody else in to deal with that. And if we have confidence that they've actually done a good job, then we can act upon that. And then at that point, we have a good basis in the years ahead. We can sit there and say, go up 1%, go up 1%. You don't have to do it all the time. But if we've never done one at all, or if we haven't done one like in 5 years, it might be a good idea to have a third party objective perspective. And secondly, I learned today that evidently the state legislature passed a law last year, something called Pay Equity Act or something. It's in that letter she sent me. And there's now legal jeopardy that if we haven't done things correctly, we could come back and have somebody suing us for sexual discrimination or something like that. That's always been out there, of course. You always got to mind your P's and Q's on that. But this is an additional one that got passed like a year or so ago. And so obviously the person trying to sell us something is saying, well, you really ought to do that. Well, part of me thinks it might not be a bad idea to do that, because if we did get into a litigation, we'd be in a situation of our defense is we did the best we could good. We went out and got outside expertise, and we're relying upon that outside expertise. I think that's a certain layer of defense. And actually that might be a best practices, that might be the way to go. So right now I'm kind of leaning towards spend a little extra money right now with an outside study and then go from there, as opposed to the other impression I get is we kind of muddle through this for another year and keep muddling through it every few years and stuff like that. Maybe it'd be better to just grab the bull by the horns this time, spend a little extra money, and hopefully get it done right.
That's kind of where I'm thinking. And typically, and I've been on the extremes of this, where I used to work, you're lagging, a couple of years behind the curve for your employees and stuff like that. And you can run the jeopardy of, people not being happy. And it's not because you're not conscious of it, but you're not. And that's not our wheelhouse. That's not what we do here. So the closest we have is Todd. Todd is the CFO. He has to make, not at this size of amount of people, but he has to deal with personnel issues, with raises, bonuses, all that kind of stuff. So, and even this is kind of shaking him a little bit, because there's a lot of variables here.
Well, I don't see, I guess I know my industry so I'm comfortable with what the people do, whether they're architects or project managers or CAD or I mean, I know what they do here. If you tell me someone's a tech, they might be the best tech, they might be the worst tech. I don't know. I don't know what they're being paid because I haven't been around it. And I do know that if there's someone that is valuable, I want to keep them.
Yeah.
I mean, that just makes logical sense anywhere. There is no reason you want to have good employees going away. Likewise, I mean, I don't want to take an employee that should be making $60,000 a year and pay him $100,000, or if someone's supposed to be making 80, pay him 100. I don't, because to me, you know, if I just pay randomly, my company can go out of business. And luckily here, we don't have that. I mean, we have the stability that a utility in the water is here for, well, I'm not saying the water is, but the utility company, you know, should be here virtually forever. And
You get into the blind spots too. We have a staff of 20 plus. And to your point, like what a tech does or something, there are people that may not be as visible in this district, but they are as valuable, if not more valuable. They may not have the proper attention given them. And I think that's where HR kind of always put everyone's feet to the fire, at least on our end, and a manager, that you have to look at things because everyone has biases. I don't care who you are. You tell me you don't, you're lying to me, because everyone has biases. And hopefully what you do with an HR level and each employee, and you have a process, you try and take the inequities of people's biases out. You know, and you're never going to be perfect, but you can be better. You can be better. And we have a responsibility to the employees. We have a responsibility to the constituents out there. That's a tough road to haul. So you got that tug of war going. So I firmly think we need to bring in some firm to look at this. That's I don't have a better answer because I'm not that smart and I don't know how to do this.
Who did the interior recommend?
Whoever that person. Yeah. Oh, yes, okay. I did talk to that lady for about an hour this morning, so.
Well, I looked at one too, and I was just Google searching, but there was one that said they would come in, just talk. I think just a presentation, I don't know, 30-minute presentation, or get a couple, 2 or 3. I think,
And one of the things she was pointing out, obviously with anybody, it depends on how much you want to go into it. You can get the quick and dirty, doesn't cost quite so much, or you can go in deep and get the Cadillac, hopefully somewhere in between. And so as far as what the numbers are, obviously she couldn't give an estimate, and I couldn't tell her what we had and all that sort of stuff. So it'd be, obviously negotiations, but it would be tens of thousands. I don't know, 10, 20, 30, 40, I don't know. It would be tens of thousands of dollars to do it. But in the long run, that might be money well spent.
What kind of time frame do we have?
that was kind of
Sensitive.
scary. She said 26 weeks, half a year. That seems like a long time to me personally.
Look, this is what I'm talking about. It's just like everything else. You can drill into the earth as much as you want. It's kind of beholden on us to bring in different types of HR groups. Give us a presentation, and then we're, like, here's the size of the district. Here's what we do. Here's the type of employees we have. We have a manager, and we need to get this right size for us. I don't want this to, we just need a process. And I think, I don't know, because I don't know if this is gonna work. I just don't know another way.
Well, shooting from the hip here, thinking quickly, would it be possible to do a hybrid? Where on the one hand, maybe we did some sort of one-time bonus, kind of like right now, to deal with the immediate issue and to buy time. Because I wouldn't want to be in a situation where we're dragging this out, kind of teasing the employees, kind of, they're gonna feel like, what the heck, you're leading us on. And, we want some action. But if it, we want it done right. If it takes 26 weeks, that might be a good idea. But in the meantime, could we do something to kind of hold them over for a little bit? I don't know what that would entail, but kind of a little bit of that, a little bit of this.
That's what I'm gonna tell you. See, you're still just throwing darts and hoping something hits, right? I have experience with that. So you get somebody, you let them talk. They're gonna identify if we've got a gap or gap analysis, they're gonna tell you what that looks like and how large it is. And remember, we have a pretty diverse staff here. So you gotta be careful what you're talking about in gap for the different things. And then also they will give you those different options where we had catch-up things where, built in where people had annual, like a bonus or something like that, year bonus, or you had paid for performance of somebody. You would have in your budget, you'd have X amount of dollars in there, and then people, when they're doing an exceptional job at the manager's discretion, can, put spot bonuses out there. You just have to understand how that happens, right? And then how do you build a budget around that? And then the process is baked into the annual budget. You start understanding kind of the curves you're in, so you can anticipate for the budget. And that's what we're trying to be, is, get these algorithms. And I'm sick of reinventing the wheel in here every year. It's sloppy. I don't think it's, and yet this district runs great, but it's like on our side, we need to, I think, I'm a process guy. You have to have something to go off of. That's just my opinion. That's what happens with people like me. I got to have a roadmap. I'm not good about free range. I will take off on you, find me at the 7-Eleven drinking Slurpees, waiting for something to happen. So
I have an additional question. I've never heard of a mid-year inflationary kind of bonus ever in my life. And I remember the 70s. So apparently it's happening in these utility districts. But has anybody heard of this in any other industry as of 2022? I have not.
Well, we won't do it.
well, like I
I'm
said,
retired, so I can't.
Okay.
So
But I mean, your friends, neighbors, family, I've never heard of this.
so this is
I'm not opposed to it, but it's just something brand new to me.
right. Whether you can't have an opinion one way or the other, but this is the concept of a gap analysis. You have somebody that understands how to systematically get you into the band, and you'll understand if you're plus or minus in that band of control, and if the gap, this is what I was at risk with a lot of my guys, because they, where I work, they like to just wait way too long to, catch up everybody. So the gap was getting huge. And then, then to the point you have to wait like every 5 years to do a union contract. Well, imagine guys sitting on wages and stuff like that, and the outside world's changed in that 5-year band. So
Yeah, too.
we need to understand what the gap is. You don't just throw a dart to try and catch it.
And that's what I said to you guys is, here's the survey put out by the employee council that asked that question that you wanted, they have the answer to. So if you read this, it'll say, okay, everybody participate in the survey, and then they'll publish a number to say how many of these, this is by the employee council, so it's not so much utilities, how many organizations are
You mean
providing.
employer council.
Yeah, employer council. Sorry. So the employer council, so they'll provide that data once they get that survey accomplished. So you'll have that answer to, okay, this is how many organizations are doing this.
But typically these gaps are addressed annually, I guess is where I'm coming at. I
Yes.
know employees wouldn't want to hear that, but if we addressed it appropriately on the annual basis as opposed to mid-year, that would seem more appropriate and kind of a standard from what I've experienced in my life.
Well, and it's around the sense of urgency. I hope the staff appreciates what we're trying to do. We understand, we're hearing what we're hearing. We're trying to take action, but then we are responsible and accountable to the public. And that requires us to do the due diligence of this. Yeah, this is not typical, but we don't know because we don't know. I'm going to keep saying that over and over. And throwing darts at things or guessing what could work or couldn't work, you run the risk of pleasing one and failing on the other, or failing on both. And then what's your get out of jail card? Well, I was just shooting from the hip. No one's going to like that, Dave. Honestly, no one wants to hear that in this room, right?
Right.
Nobody in the staff. Well, we were shooting from the hip. That I want to be able to have a firm understanding of that. And I think you have to understand, you have to do the gap analysis. And then you can understand this beast a little bit better. And then you can develop a process. We have so many other things that, you know, we get torn into. And I think as we try and build processes will tend to lead you. It's your roadmap out of things. And no roadmap, I think you're gonna have problems.
I think we have problems because we're having too many conversations here. There's a lot going on in this one thing. The discussion was brought up about inflation adjustments right now. I think that's a different conversation than how do we handle systemic things? Like, do we need an HR management group? Those are things we have to look at every year, and you're looking at a process for that every year. I think number 3 is the other unmentioned conversation here, is that we're only having this whole conversation in the first place because there's money on the table, because we have left, as you say, employees dangling with unresolved issues for raises that were proposed in November, and we have not given them their raises. So we have money on the table. That's the discussion. That's my priority. First, we have to take care of those dangling issues. That was the first priority we set. That's what we were going to be doing. Now I hear we can't do that until we have a process. Now we have this other thing, and we're going to take the money away. I don't see how we do anything if the money is coming from money that was set aside for a vacant position and for raises that were supposed to be for potentially for other specific employees. Do the new directors even know that was part of that's where the money was coming from?
No, I was gonna say, actually, did we not give it an increase in November?
No, we did.
We gave everybody
Yeah, that was my understanding.
4% COLA raises.
Right.
Okay.
We have 3 that also had larger raises.
3 people?
3 people
Okay.
that we're looking at that time, double-digit raises. So we did, I would say we had a process. We had a process, and we were going through the process on how the staff and the salaries were evaluated. When Kristen came in, she redid job classifications, and she was looking at new jobs. When I asked about it, came to us, and this was another complicated discussion, because they came to us as performance raises. But these large increases are not typical performance raises, so that raised issues. And then when I asked about it, it was, well, no, these aren't really performance-based. They are new job category based. They're really promotion, and we're going to put in new management levels. So you see why it's a little bit complicated. I think we need to, and that I don't think is something that an HR company can decide for us. Do we want extra levels? Do we want to operate as we have been? Are we operating as we have been? Has something changed? So that's where I'm coming from. If that's the question we need to ask first, but that's, I think, 3 separate whole questions that need to be addressed separately.
Thank you for that too, because that's part of that's why I sent the explanation out. It's right here in the paragraph, just exactly what Director Morgan said is that's the paragraph right here. So thank you.
For me, I agree. If if we're talking economy driven, if we're talking inflation, if that's the thing on the table, I agree with you that if the inflation keeps going up and then what happens when it comes down, I think if you're looking at overall inflation, you're looking at indicators that are, as you said, you're gonna be glad to have this government job in 6 months because we're heading towards those times. People are downsizing, that is on the table. And no, I haven't heard of anybody getting the 6-month inflation. I didn't hear of anybody getting 4% COLA raise. And I had the dubious honor of having to campaign during this time. So when we were setting the budget, so I got to ask people on the road, nobody got it. Nobody got it. Social Security had about 6%, para had 1% last year. So, but employees were not getting it last year. I don't know of anybody who's doing that now, but this is exactly the kind of time where you say, I've got a job with pension on top of Social Security, and those are intangibles. And this is just, everything is blowing up. And I agree, it's hard to know where things are going because the inflation is crazy. But I know that conversation is coming again in 5 short months. So it can be built in. In the meantime, I would hate to make a short-term decision on something like that when we have these other employees that are waiting for an answer. It seems inappropriate.
Could you flesh out the 3 tiers or elements or dimensions with some background as to what it is, and then a corresponding what could be a potential solution to that one, so that way I can kind of see how this 3 different things are being addressed separately, and perhaps a vision of how they might interact. So, do you mind repeating what the 3 elements? Yeah, sorry.
No, I think that's an important question, but my interpretation of this is that the job descriptions were reevaluated for 3 employees.
Okay, so that's one dimension.
That's, yes, and that was when Kristen came on, and Jeff originally asked her this, so this is 2019, and so she has.
So what would be the
things in place.
solution? Would this be a study by somebody?
You can hire an HR, you can agree with it, you can disagree with it.
What she's already done?
Which she has already done, what she has already done, yes, she has already done work on this.
Have you guys?
We disagreed with it, that's why we went with the COLA.
Right.
Okay,
Because we did look, once again, as the district as a whole, I'm not even really comfortable when we talk about 3 individuals and you have 20-some employees. This is where, once again, you can create a disparity just on that alone.
yeah, I'm kind of getting grip of it. I think what's been about.
Well, I'm just telling you, when you are identifying 3 people as potential, and whether they are or not high performers, and if you're the other employees can look at that too, and then you're like, well, what does that mean for me? I don't know what that means. I'm just here like when I'm here for these board meetings, so I'm not grounded in this like Jeff is or the rest of the staff.
Dylan, are we running into any legal?
I'm listening. You're safe so far.
So
I think that is where we stopped, because this was brought up again in the middle of another meeting. This whole proposal, we were not notified beforehand of the specifics. And so we were in the middle of budgets with everything else that was going on, and so we delayed the discussion, okay? The discussion, though, was framed as these are performance raises. But the details of it were really, it's a new job category, or an acknowledgement of an existing, previously unacknowledged, yes, job category.
Okay, so let's think in terms of,
Yes.
this issue is job categorization.
Yes,
And so the options are take what she did,
yes,
get somebody else to do something. An option.
or yes, disagree. That is all up to us.
Okay, that's all on the subject matter of proper job classification.
Yes. Now, yes,
I think I'm okay with that one.
And there are,
What are the other two?
let me go through, because there are options within those two as well, because I mean, if we should go through and decide which one we want to do before I go into that, but, okay, so there are, that's the employees, yes, but I think that is also some of that HR comments. When I look at HR firms, many of them, their focus are trying to find, you're looking at the gaps, you're looking at inequities, you're looking at legal hirings and firings, easy onboardings. That's not what we're talking about here. We are talking about the management decisions of how to classify the employees. We're talking about whether or not to accept the COLA increases or not. We already have recommendations for all of those things. So we can get a study done, but that is, I don't think.
Let me explain questions out a little bit more. As far as objectives are concerned, I know one of the objectives, I know Jeff's mentioned, and I agree with, is we want to have the best employees. So the
Yes.
question is everybody in the right job with the right salary that corresponds to that person? Or are people kind of miscategorized, missalaried? This person should get more because they're better. This person should get less because they're not so good. Very individualized to that individual. That, in my mind, is one objective. Second,
Yes, but I also think that, I do believe that that is what Kristen did.
you guys agree that she did that, or she tried to do that, or was that the objective?
My struggle with Kristen's,
I don't think so.
honestly, was that
Was
I
she trying to
still-
do that? Was she trying to do
She
that?
was trying to.
she was trying to do, but like, to me, she created, I think, positions. Instead of taking the positions we had, she created new, better ones. And from my standpoint, because it was all on Denver Water, I just struggle with the idea. To me, that's like, you earn wages in California and then you come to Colorado and you're like, well, hey, well, in California, I made $200,000 a year, why don't you pay me that here? Well, maybe that 200,000 there is 100,000 here. Does that make sense? If you go to Denver Water, say if a tech there makes 75,000, maybe we only should be paying 65. Or if they make 80, maybe we should pay them 70. You know, I don't know the exact, but I'm just,
Let me show you.
It gets
You
back,
gotta have
right?
swim lanes. So you gotta be, first off, we're in Colorado, we're not in California anywhere else, right? And more importantly, then you can look at that, which side of the slope are you on? That's gonna make a difference. You're gonna make less money on the other side than you are on this side. So we're on the eastern slope, right? And then it's like, you've gotta be under the same type of water and sanitation districts, equally staffed with the type of tasks we're supposed to do. You have to try and get into some equitable understanding of what your staff does.
Yeah, the government, we call that the location differential.
Well, there's location, but then with that, like with the trades, there was a big difference between people that I would hire that work construction. Typically were paid less than people that made service, same trade, same, license, all that stuff. There was inequities in that,
Because it really was different jobs.
different types of jobs. I'm not saying fact, construction's always harder than service typically, because it's.
Well, in theory, if one job is more valuable than another, there should be a pay difference.
You need to understand that though, but then what I don't see is you gotta have a job description. It's like, here's your job X. And underneath it, this is what we expect you to do for this amount of money. Correct. And if you do that, and you should do a good job, because that's what we pay you for, to do a good job.
Right.
Now, what you gotta have, when you look at what are the factors when you go up, and it's like, are you doing, the delta, are you doing additional work or responsibilities? Do we know? So, do we know that? We don't, I don't know. And then what does that equal in terms of dollars if you do? And then how do you, it's hard to do this, Sarah, Trace to teach, believe it or not, but, so you've got how, you know, it's job description, how much you pay. And here's where we're missing too. You gotta have a floor and a ceiling. Where do you start at? And where do you top out at? Do we have that?
Yeah, so that's the email I sent. So the email says our pay scale for our field guys are $18 to $31 an hour. And then, so everything you talk about is correct. So the pay scale for most people in this field of work is 20 to 40, but that depends, just like you're talking about, on the size of the utility. So Denver and Aurora is going to pay more than us because they're much bigger. So everything's there. It's just, you know, our pay scale kind of matches where we're at based on our size, just like Director Baker is talking about, $18 to $31 an hour, where, you know, Denver's probably 20 to 40, Aurora's 20 to 40. So everything's there. And then we do have job descriptions related to the almost everybody has a job description, you know, that's been around forever. So we do have low pay, high pay, and then like Director Morgan's talking about, there is individuals that were up for performance pay based on their job descriptions at the end of last year. That was put together. So we do have a lot of this you're talking about, and you know, you're more welcome to bring in an HR firm to polish it up too. I support that 100%. I mean, that's a great thing.
Typically, performance things, like where I work, you would have, like, they give a spot award. So your salary didn't increase by 1%, but you received a percentage based on your performance. It was like an award for performance for that year.
Yeah.
And you have that listed on the spot awards, those kind of things. So there's all these different variables, but, you know, job description, how much you make, the floor, the ceiling, and then, is there a delta here? Are you doing more than your job description says? And then how well are you doing that? So what does that equal in terms of the compensation for that employee?
Yeah, we do have, you know, licenses, like their employees are able to move up based on drinking water distribution certification and wastewater collection certification and CDL certification. So there is tools in place to determine qualifications and types of duties and the work they do.
So the other thing that we got tasked with, and it's always a touchy thing, and it's I've talked to you about this when you started, is understanding right sizing. What are the employees doing? You know, I mean, you've got to understand how many people do you actually need. Are you too little? Are you right? Are you too many? And those metrics go to the constituents, you know, or it's like being responsible. Are we doing what we're supposed to be doing? Keeping an eye on.
All I'm trying to keep my three silos. You're now talking about a right sizing, make sure that the person's in the right job, center. Is this still the same silo that we're talking about? This figuring out what is the appropriate salary for each job?
No, but it's kind of a variable in here. It's more a
Is it
management.
second silo or same silo?
I don't know, but can I ask too, because if that is the silos deciding on, I have not heard anybody suggest that there is a gap yet in our salaries. We just said we're about in the right spot. Kristen found the same thing in her study, that everybody, except for these 3 employees, were in about their right spots for their salary. And we just did the cost of living adjustment. That's why it was a blank. So I've not heard anything to the contrary.
Yeah, that's why we stuck to making the case on the state of the economy, because, you know,
Yes.
and then we'd have to, like you said, we need to go back to all the data that Dr. Kristen Book generated and Ray generated, and then also hired a HR organization to really examine future performance. And we, you know, we do performance reviews. We're in the process of polishing them up. We're in the process of polishing up the job descriptions and taking all these surveys. And we are, based on the research we've done, we are a really good water district. I mean, because, you know, you can see that we have some of the lowest water rates, and we're the best thing about it is we're not in debt. You know, a lot of my best friends.
You don't mind me interrupting. I'm working progressively, so when we jump around, then I'm kind of losing my basis. I'm still trying to figure out what are my 3 perspectives or whatever that she mentioned.
The 3 questions.
3 questions.
3 original, yes, I'm sorry, 3 original things were inflation-based, an HR company to do regular performance reviews year over year, something.
All that's one, that's inflation.
No, inflation is something. Do you want to do this right now?
Well, it helps for me to understand what the 3 perspectives are, because otherwise I'm.
So
I think there's
inflation
three
is an
questions.
adjustment or some kind of action today.
Today, Do you want to do that based on the economy
Right,
today?
the performance
That
is,
I do
the
understand.
performance
What-
is,
what do
do
we
you
call- what
want,
do we
do
call
we
that?
think it is right to, are those people at this point, should we be providing those kind of raises to them? That would be two, correct?
Hold on, so first one's inflation, across the board, easy peasy.
Right.
Second one is,
A process that we need HR to.
So that's HR, and then the third was back to her original
three
about the
employees.
dangling, were the 3 employees and just outright giving them raises.
two
Like
and three.
separate from
The rest of the stuff.
the rest of the staff.
It's 2 and 3, I'm having a hard time getting a grip on what those are.
So HR, again, that would be bringing someone in to look at the process of how, you know, the job descriptions, how we do performance reviews, how we would come up with a process, would that be a
Well,
process to,
if I'm
see that we're-
understanding this from Director Morgan, you're almost at a promotion level at some of these increases.
That's what I.
And so with
And that's
your,
what she
if you're,
said,
yeah,
yes.
if you're at a, does that help you where we're kind of going, we're at
On
item
three.
3 now.
well, we were
With
on
the 3
HR, but
employees.
now you've switched over to the performance.
Well, I did that because I know this is where he says that right now.
So
So
right now.
you're at those 3 employees.
No, let me go with number 2. I'm visualizing number 2 as I bring in a management consultant who's doing an efficiency study as to what will be the most efficient thing for each job to be doing. Is that what number 2 is?
No,
No.
no, no, no,
Okay.
No, that's where.
Is
we're
that-
talking-
is
We're
that-
talking about it during process, you know, like process improvement or optimization is the
Yeah,
word.
yeah, yeah. Is
It's
that,
optimizing your business, and that's what I've been, you know, Jeff and I, both Jeffs are having these kind of conversations. You should be optimizing what you're doing.
is that any one of the 3? Or is that number 4?
that would probably be a 4.
Yeah.
And then, you know, that's part of the presentations we do is the dashboards. You know, the dashboards illustrate exactly what the employees are doing and how well they're doing it. That's why we keep adding, you know, the next presentation is gonna have double the amount of dashboards. So in the presentations, you're gonna see double the amount of dashboards to show the employees are doing what they're doing, the multi-skill they do, and, you know, the tasks they perform, and then, you know, you can always use that information to build upon it, to bring in long-term HR research to say, okay, these people are doing this, and then what's the competitive market? They could do that analysis a lot better than anybody else can.
Okay.
But this is, you know, we kind of wanted this right now, stick to the state of the economy.
Okay, so that's number 4. That's the
Yeah.
efficiency study.
Well, I don't think we need to.
Isn't the most immediate question is inflation relief for these employees using funds that were supposedly to have been distributed as some kind of increase in November, and a week on.
Well,
that one, I don't
potentially,
know.
we had not, they were budgeted, but not agreed to in a vote.
But that money was never distributed. It
Correct.
was budgeted. Now we're considering employee inflation relief. Maybe that should be our fundamental question tonight. We can worry about this HR issue later and polishing all of this and that. But that wasn't that tonight's question. What are we gonna do for the employees as far as inflation? That doesn't mean we have to do anything, but I thought that's what we're considering.
I would consider that number 1, basically the inflation.
So that's the reason we're here this evening.
Do we have a motion then? Does there somebody have a motion?
I don't want
We-
to twist
we-
any arms, I just.
Well, no, I'm fine with that, and that's where, you know, I guess trying to keep things on track. Do we have a motion here or a question?
Because at this point, I have just questions, but
Well,
easy to go with a
it
motion.
can't be the same questions over and over and over. We need to, you know, we need to.
Well-
We need to start paring this thing down to some sort of a decision, otherwise we're just burning time, we're burning rubber.
To piggyback on Karen, I agree with her that people should not dangle. I think while we're here, I mean, we're here for a special meeting. Why don't we vote on the 3 performance raises? And
You want 3 motions or something?
no, I mean, I can make this as a motion. And if we want to deal with inflation, but I would at least, after a special meeting, I want to get a minimum 1 of these off the table. 1.
Absolutely.
I'd love to get 2 off the table, but 1 is good with me.
Motion or question?
Motion. I'll make a motion that we either agree to providing the performance raises and I guess increased job descriptions as previously proposed by Kristen or the previous manager, or not.
Not, no, can't talk to him, he's making a motion. Go ahead.
So I would just like to vote that we either agree to do that or agree not to do that.
Is that a motion?
I don't know how to say that.
That's a question. You-
I
you get a
move that we vote on providing performance raises to the 3 people as previously brought to our attention.
Better motion. Okay, do we have a second? Not yet. Do we have a second?
Well, I would second to discuss it.
That's what we go into next. It's just-
Okay, I'll second it then.
Okay, so we have a second. Danley, did you, that was Dave Whitman's second. Todd Hooks making the motion. Now
Thank
we're
you
gonna
very
have-
much.
You're welcome. Now we're gonna have a discussion.
Yeah, mostly confusion. Okay, when we started, I thought we were talking about doing a COLA type increase. Now you said this is a performance type increase, 2 different adjectives.
Well, yeah, but it's for a whole separate, the COLA was for everyone.
Okay,
This is for the group that was proposed to be provided either jobs description, promotions, or performance raises, however we want to say that.
okay.
And
So I have to mentally think we're not talking about COLAs. We're
No.
talking about 3 employees evidently.
Correct.
And really, we can't decide what to do on inflation until we decide on this, because the money's hanging, so. Thank you. for your
Well,
time.
and I,
So it's only
for whatever it's worth, I'm gonna look over at the lawyer, you know, there are Tabor and annual budgetary laws. I don't know what kind of a slippery slope we're on, but it's feeling slick to me right now.
Well, we're doing great so far because this
Okay.
is really just finally deciding the question that was asked in November. You've approved this expenditure as part of the budget. You have not expended these funds.
Okay,
yet.
do you
So-
understand what he's saying?
No, I'm digesting it. We set aside a certain amount of money. It's just that 110,000, whatever that number.
We budgeted it.
Yes.
And what's the number that's been?
125.
Well, yeah, but if you read the report, it's a combination of 2 things. Number 1, those performance raises that were delayed, and number 2, lower head count for 4 months. So part of that money is the performance raises of these 3 individuals.
Can I, Manager Tyus, a question? In your opinion, could we accommodate these 3 raises and also address this inflation problem for the remaining employees? Can we do that this evening?
Oh,
Is
yes,
that conceivable? All
you,
right.
you could do it easily because number 1, the money's there, and it's not gonna, our ratepayers aren't gonna, pay any extra money because the money's already in the budget. We already have great rates, we're on budget. And so you can adjust those 3 individuals' performances and just, do the competitive inflationary bonus that's been given out from the local water districts is between $500 to $1,000. So the money's absolutely there. So
Like a one-time lump.
yeah, just a one-time lump sum inflationary bonus given out by, smaller water utilities are giving out $500, larger water utilities, Denver's giving out $2,000.
Are we talking about three
Okay,
people?
stop.
We're
We're not
getting,
gonna do that. We're gonna talk about only these 3 people. We have a motion.
Yeah,
I'm gonna throw the flag and say, we're just gonna talk about these 3 people.
Yes.
If you want to move on to that, then we will have a second motion, but I'm not gonna make them water.
Thank you for doing that. Okay, so we're talking about 3 people. How much money are we talking about for the 3?
I don't have a specific, sorry.
It's 125, somewhere in that neighborhood.
It was done in, I don't know the dollar amounts, but it was done in percentages.
Yeah.
So it was for a percentage of their salary, so this is a base building raise. And it was an extra 9 to 10%.
Yeah,
on
so,
top of the COLA.
yeah, so let's say 60,000 a year, 10%, 6,000, just estimate, it's not exact. So you're looking around $20,000. Plus, you're already halfway done with the year too, so it's.
The whole thing is only 20,000.
well, no, it was a lot more than that.
Okay, all right.
Is it 15%?
It was 14%.
Well, okay, so let's say somebody,
So 14% on some would be 12,000 a piece, could be
36,000.
36.
Each one of them had a different percentage?
36 to 40,000
Do you,
dollars.
do you have Kristen's report? Could that be?
It would be in the budget
Yeah.
too, yeah. The totals were like, what, 14.2 to 15 something, maybe something around in there, but they already got the 4%, that's why it's not.
Did each one of them get a specific raise for them, or was it everybody got the same?
Hey, Dave,
Specific.
one more time, just everybody got the 4% COLA.
Yes, got
And
that.
an
Okay.
additional specific amount to them,
Yeah, so
proposed,
What's the second part?
additional proposed.
So that's what we're
specific to them.
talking about now.
Okay, so
That was not decided, well, but the only thing that was decided back in December was 4% across the board.
across the board, okay.
In my point of view, I'm just gonna cut this one off because the amount of money is secondary to the proposal.
Okay.
Because if you are saying, as the proposed job descriptions were, this was acknowledging that these are 3 managers, 3 additional managers. As such, that the monies as they were described specific to them were all appropriate for that management position. The question is, we have not been operating like that. We have a district manager who manages and makes the decisions around. So no matter what staff authority or specialist position you had, the manager was making the management decisions. This is a proposal that these individuals were acting on their own, and as such, were managers, as specialists, and therefore, we need to acknowledge that.
So, and to also give you some more background, Jeff Tyus was not employed with us at that time. And a lot of these,
See one of the 3?
no. And these individuals were working, I think you guys were patching the boat because we didn't have a manager here a lot of the time. Is that a fair assessment?
The case could be made,
Oh, okay,
yes,
all right,
the case could be made that that was so.
okay.
So
So-
the question is, do we like that? Do we want to continue with that 5 managers? We would have the 3 plus the field supervisors plus district manager. Do we want to up that level of management? Do we want to say, thank you very much for stepping in and maybe doing a bonus? And go back to, hopefully Mr. Tyus will be stepping in and doing the management decisions? Or do we just want to say none of that was applicable and you don't get it at all?
And
Does that
motion
make
on,
it a little more clear?
There are, I think
That's
there are
not my
3
motion.
options.
the motion on the table is just to adopt Kristen's recommendations and provide those. So this is just discussion on that motion.
Correct.
But
Which
that
is
was-
fine, because you're gonna do this one way or the other, so
It is helping.
it's more focused now.
Okay, my understanding is we in essence created 3 new jobs, middle managers sort of thing.
Yes.
And those middle managers are at a higher salary than they were before. So from their perspective, it's kind of like getting a bonus,
The promotion.
a promotion.
There's a difference between a bonus and a promotion.
Correct. Okay, so they got a promotion with a corresponding increase in salary. Did they, I don't think it makes any difference, but did they get the same promotion, like 10% or whatever? But anyway, you created 3 new jobs and each of them got a higher
Well,
salary.
we didn't create 3. We didn't create 3.
But that's a proposal.
Correct.
Okay, so we're proposing to create 3 middle management jobs and they will be at a higher salary.
Yes.
Okay, I understand that, that's fine. Now, as far as the things you were just asking, I don't know, is that a good idea or not? I don't know, is it a good idea? But at least I understand what the 3 are now.
So now you understand the term right sizing, which, you know, he came on after this. That was the thing. We need to understand that. That was part of our discussion with him, bringing him on board. And here we are.
So see, theoretically, again, if you do my management, not mine, but the concept of a management efficiency study, you would be looking at each employee, are they maximized or whatever? And that's a whole other issue. That's option number 4 or 5.
That's down the road.
Yeah, okay. Right now, we're talking about these 3 people.
Yep.
Doesn't matter to me who they are, just, I have no idea. It's probably just as well, probably.
It probably does not matter, and it shouldn't.
Okay, and it doesn't, I don't know this. Okay, so should these 3 people be promoted? Okay, I don't know, should they? What's your recommendation?
Well, that's a discussion here, where
I'd like to know, do we actually need 3 managers in a workforce of 20 employees?
I don't know. Like I said, I managed myself 20-some employees. I didn't have any sub leads or anything. I did it all. And, you know, I was 24/7, 365.
Well, that would be a manager for every 5 people. Which is a lot.
Well, the
in my
3 or
opinion.
4 of you who've been here know what you're talking about. Do you think it's a good idea or not?
And remember, this has got no supervision duties.
They have no
They will have no
supervisory.
supervision duties.
So they're just getting a raise
Could they be-
because they're really important people.
Could they be considered just lead, I don't know if they're craft employees or lead technicians as opposed to being
Yes.
managers,
That's the.
raise their pay proportionately, but not management pay?
Well, they could either be a lead, and like I said, I'm not even quite sure of the breakout, or they could just be, we could have one of those individuals. So the lead is the, you know, the entire, could be the entire department of that.
You know, I apologize, but this is really, I don't know that much about this because I didn't do the research to prepare for the meeting because it's beyond my time, but it's really under my, it should be under my ability to provide you all this, answer all these questions because it's my job. But I apologize, I didn't do all the research. I didn't pull up all that research that Dr. Kristen Book did. It's like, I should be able to answer these questions, but I can't.
So this, and I'm just gonna say this again, this is why I sit in HR group. I'm gonna tell you right now, you're gonna create all kinds of problems. I think if I'm gonna understand this correctly, and probably a good option would be to, we don't know enough. We still don't know enough. I don't. I think we're looking at probably like a bonus level, not a promotion level. That's what I'm at. So we had people.
That's what I
covering-
sense, yeah.
where we had people covering during the pandemic and all these extraordinary things. We didn't have a manager. There was a lot of turmoil here. And that gets back to my little Delta thing. There were people operating outside of their normal sphere of their job description. And we need to probably reward them for that.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you a question. I think you're starting to answer it for me.
And we have not rewarded them. All we could do based on how this was presented to us, and I didn't like the way Ms. Buck had presented it. I didn't like it because I'm just used to operating at a different level. So this became a problem, which then became his problem. And, you know, which, like I said, it's not his wheelhouse either. I know that. That's not what we hired him for different things. And we still have this problem. So
On the one hand, I'm hearing 3 people did extraordinary, and they need to be rewarded for their past performance.
all people that survived all this did some extraordinary stuff.
But we're only talking about rewarding 3.
I know, I agree.
Okay,
I'm just, be careful of the semantics of what you're saying.
gotcha.
Look, this is why you have a lawyer, and we would probably have an HR person in here, and that person would be telling you, watch what you're saying.
Am I in trouble?
No, but you could be. Because there are people
But I'm
that,
still young, yeah.
yeah,
All right. Well, a part of me is thinking, okay, you want to reward the 3. The other option is the 3 are in a continuing situation that from now on, they're in an extraordinary demanding position that should always be getting more money because they're more valuable.
well, that's the big question mark for me. We have a manager that we brought back in. We had a hired gun manager we brought in because we lost Greg. He resigned, and then we had a gap. We had to bring in Kristen Buck. Okay, that was outsourced. That outsourcing put the pressure on the staff to have to pick up the slack because Kristen could keep us out of the like state and federal, all the things that keep us legal, right, and out of trouble. But, you know, the staff had to, because it's something you will pick up over time, what you need to be doing as the actual manager. Does that make sense?
I suppose what I'm looking for right now if this is a past thing and we want to reward them, then we do the bonus.
Yep.
If it's the sort of thing that we want to elevate their job and in a continuing basis, then they need a higher salary.
That's my problem with this. I
So
think
which
we
one
need
is
an HR thing. I think it's a promotion. I think it's a bonus. I think we're talking about a bonus. That's my
Well,
understanding.
That works for me. If you say it's a bonus, okay.
Which is not the motion on the.
That's not the motion.
I just say, do we want to give the performance
No,
increases?
You're fine. That's fine. So we can go ahead for the sake of moving on, I'm gonna, if everyone, do we need further discussion on this motion?
I don't.
Which is for
Yeah, I need to clarify. What was the motion again?
approving salary increases for
Oh.
three.
It's-
Salary increases for three particular employees.
Ongoing or just a one-time?
It would be
It's a
ongoing.
promotion.
It would be
Yeah.
a promotion
Be
and
promotion.
ongoing.
Okay, it's
I
promotion.
think we've answered it, but
Okay.
Well, but that's why you
Yeah.
vote. So if we're no further discussion,
But what did you recommend? I heard you recommend.
we will have to have an additional motion. You cannot get what
We
you're
need
trying
to
to do
vote
in
and
this
then I
motion.
need to go to the bathroom, then you can have an additional discussion.
For the sake of moving on, if there's no further discussion on this, I'm gonna call for a vote. All in favor of this, say aye. We have no ayes. Okay, so we have zero, or, this motion fails. So now I will make a motion, or I'm proposing that we look at a bonus level for that time, or for this time period, for those three individuals, three staff.
I will second that.
Okay, we have a second, so that's Jeff Baker making the motion, Danley, and Dave Wickman seconding. Now we have discussion.
or not. What percentage or level of bonus are we talking about? And will there be enough left over that we can recognize the other employees in this inflationary period?
So based on the limited research I have, the raises were between 10 to 15%. So if you did somewhere between 10 to 15% of bonuses, based on 60 to 70,000 a year, you're looking at 7,000 times. Well, if you want to do a half year or a full year, since we're halfway here, so
Jeff, you're making this too complicated.
yeah, sorry. So you're looking at somewhere between $20,000 and $40,000 total.
Let's say 40,000, and that leaves 85,000 left over.
Well, yeah,
Or
whatever.
80% of 125,000.
Yeah, whatever that's up to you to vote.
Is
So
the percentage the same for all of them, or they each get different
No,
percentages?
we're only talking about the three.
Three, I know, but
We can
three.
do whatever we want.
yes, you can. You
Well, what's
can,
the
you can do
proposal?
whatever you want.
What's the
You
proposal?
have the authority to make that decision.
Well, I think the three should be recognized at a higher level than the other employees. I don't know what that percentage will be, but definitely then address this inflationary issue with all of the employees. So maybe 35,000, 40,000 for these three employees is a one-time bonus. And then whatever is left over from that 80% of 125,000, distribute amongst all the other employees.
What's the motion?
That's a lot of money.
So we're talking about 80% of 125 grand total.
Yeah,
I'm not discussing. That's a lot of, that's too much for me.
yeah. So keep in mind that, if we compare ourselves to other utilities, it's somewhere between $500 to $1,000 per employee outside these three employees. So, so you're looking at, maybe 20, maybe 15, let's say you had 15 to 17 employees at $1,000, it's $15,000. So,
Well,
so we got to compare it to other utilities.
We're only doing three, right?
Well, I'm talking, you're talking,
This
On this
motion
motion.
Yeah,
is only for the three staff,
yeah.
period.
And how much do they get?
I would suggest 10% of one, that would be 1 year's raise as the bonus that was suggested as the permanent raise.
So
10%
there's a number, 10%.
So that's, what do you call it? Adjustment, amendment. None of them are trying to remember what the motion was. I remember.
It was
three
my
people.
motion.
Your motion.
I will make an amendment when I hear it properly. So
3 people.
10%
I would, okay, so
of their
Danley,
salary
Danley, I'm gonna make an amendment to my motion for 10% of their salary for the 3 individuals we have identified,
Their annual salary.
their annual salary.
And this will be a promotion ongoing. for
And I need a second.
Oh,
No,
Just one,
No,
just one.
Dave,
Okay.
Dave, there's promotion and then there's just bonus. Bonus is like a one-time thing. It's like opening a bottle of champagne. When it's gone, it's gone.
Right. And we're doing bonus,
Just a bonus, a one-time,
one
one time,
of 10%
10%
For
per
three.
individual
for 3 people.
for 3 people.
Is there a second?
I didn't get a second.
Second.
So Danley Jeff Baker made an amended motion. Dave Wickman seconded. Do we have discussion?
Thanks.
I like it. Just to say, I would have voted for the raises, but I think that needs further discussion. Because, I will probably be bringing that up again. 'Cause I
Make
do-
another motion.
Not tonight, but the point is, I do believe that the job duties they took on, their management levels, people are already counting on them to make those decisions, and that will not go away. They will be acting under that level forever.
And that's the burden we have put on him.
That is, so if he picks it up, that is one thing. If not, then I think we need to be aware that could be ongoing and
Okay.
have that. going
Let's
So,
complete
Since
this.
I did not, but that is why I did not vote for that, so I will vote for this.
Okay, do we need further discussion on this? No further discussion. All in favor of passing this motion, say aye. Aye. All against, say nay.
Nay.
We have 1 nay, that was Todd Hooks. The rest of the directors voted aye.
You got one of your things accomplished.
I did.
Now we're gonna move on to the next thing. Do we want to talk about?
Is it okay if I'll make this happen, so just to clarify, 10%, so three individuals that had good performance of last year, 10% of their annual pay as a bonus.
Correct.
Got it.
So now we're talking about, we're gonna be moving into making a motion for the rest of the employees. So you propose, we're looking at a one-time, what? What did you put on your,
Yeah, so.
you
so
need to
the num-
bulletize this a little bit better. This is too compressed for me. That's really,
Sorry.
But so the good news, it's not all in caps.
Yeah.
Well, I need to have things broken out because it's like, I see like.
Well, that's
30
just an
40% signs. and I'm
yeah,
like,
that's just an explanation of the state of the economy. So in order, I could just give you examples of actual water districts somewhere between $500 to $2,000. 2,000 being the most from Denver. I think the employees at Denver got $1,800 that were, take home after taxes. So, and they personally did that. And then smaller water districts are paying out $500 per employee. So somewhere between that is what the going rate is, in the Denver metro.
Okay, there you go. We have a motion.
I will make a motion that we give the employees $1,000.
A one-time,
One time.
okay, hold on, he's got to make the,
A one-time $1,000 inflationary bonus to be added into their next paycheck.
for the other minus the 3 that got the bonus, or do they get? it?
Well, I would probably do that personally, but.
Well, I'm just saying, be clear, because we're talking.
Okay, then I will say that
Start over, I'm sorry, just so the scribe can get everything.
I think I'm gonna change my motion.
Okay,
I would like to propose a $1,500 one-time inflationary bonus to the employees, excluding the 3 that receive the performance bonuses.
Can I ask?
no. Do we have a second? Sure. Okay, Dave Wickman seconded. That was Todd Hook's motion. Now we have discussion.
That's excluding district manager too, right?
I.
Because that was the original proposal, exclude district manager.
I am excluding the district manager because we made some adjustments when we onboarded you that I think we're good
Yes.
right now. So,
Okay, so excluding the 3 employees in the district manager.
Sure.
okay, discussion.
I
can tell you the reason I chose that. To me, I think the employees probably gave out as much and had to deal with as much crap maybe as the other 3 did. I think just because of their positions, it looks more prominent. And that's why I personally was probably really not willing to give them a promotion or that big of a bonus for it, because I think everyone had to pull together.
And I agree, we had all these anomalies that happened and people did what they did, thank God. But hopefully it's a one-off event. We now have a full-time manager, so we should be back to a 2019 level or 2018 level with the new manager. With all of the churn, we just need to see how this thing goes.
Can I ask, were all these employees employed for the past year, or do we have some brand new employees?
This is the brand.
So everybody
We
else,
did bring one, didn't we have? Yeah, we had one more. So when do you mind me asking when you were on board, David?
March 22nd. So I've been here for 3 months.
so I would like to see, this is delicate, I'd like to see something like that prorated.
I don't have a problem giving it to them because I think it should be fair across the board. I just think you don't want to create, from my mind,
That's understandable.
it's not enough money that, to me, I mean, why, if he's here working?
Okay.
That's where you
I
get
don't
into
really
this
see
HR
it.
level. I'm telling you, this is where you can create, you could make somebody really happy and you can create an animosity. You'd be
Right, and
surprised what
I think
happens.
it struggles, to me, HR and, from my standpoint, especially like, here, I mean, I'm used to when we talk to people, I talk to everybody individually. Here, it's like we talk collectively. And to me, it just has the huge possibility to create all kinds of hard feelings and animosity and other things.
I'm
And
with that.
that's the downside to this, in my opinion.
There's always a downside to this.
I'm with that. You know, we're talking, just off the top of my head, looks like we're gonna spend about 40,000 plus is what we're doing here.
Well, that's what was budgeted. That was already in the budget. approved
Yeah, he
budget.
talked about $125,000, suggesting 80% of that. So,
Where we're at, like I said, like I said, back at the beginning of this, I am not okay making these permanent final decisions based on what I've heard so far. Will not do it. I'm not gonna do it. But based on the anomalies and the circumstances that the staff and district went through, I can appreciate a one-time effort around this.
This is not what we're talking about. You're talking about inflation. You're not talking about the anomalies. Because I'll remind you that we
Well-
did do a $1,000 bonus in November
Okay,
because of
that's
the anomalies.
correct.
So they've already got an anomaly bonus. All you're talking about is inflation right now.
okay, so we make this one-time inflationary adjustment or bonus, then we rely on an HR group in the near future to polish all of this, so it's more automated in the future.
Yeah, I guess from my perspective, it'd be nice to see, like when Jeff's saying, the metrics on how we gauge people. That's great. I mean, I still think that if there's like an overall percentage we start with, that needs to come from us. Something that we as a board feel comfortable with.
Which kind of kicks the decision can back to us, which kind of negates the whole point of having an HR team. This is my problem with it. I don't want to spend the money on the HR team to take us out of it. We're gonna be back in.
Except we'll be
But
doing
that's
this
not the
every-
motion.
Right,
We're
we will
gonna
do
be
it
doing
every
it-
year.
We're gonna be doing it every year anyway. That's my point. You have to approve it all.
Okay.
So is my motion still on the table?
Yeah.
My discussion is I will not be in favor of that because they did just get that anomaly bonus. This has only been 6 months. We're gonna have this discussion again later on. That's what the COLA is for. And again, there's the government raise thing, and then I don't hear of any other district residents getting that. So I can't look district residents who already didn't get a 4% COLA and say that we're putting on more on top of that.
Any further discussion on this?
What was the number, 1,000 or 1,500?
1,500.
I see that as an over.
And, I'm sorry, but also I would put in those three because that is just inflation. So if you're doing it for everybody inflation, I would include those. So I won't be voting for this. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, I'm not gonna amend my motion.
I understand.
All right, if there's no further discussion,
I interrupted.
The motion's 1,500,
yes.
Correct,
one time.
correct.
Excluding the three.
Are we voting?
I'm gonna call for it here in a second. I gotta make sure there's no further discussion.
Okay.
If there's no further discussion, I'm gonna call for a vote. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
We have 3 ayes, all against, say nay. We have 2 nays. The nays are Director Morgan and Director Baker. The ayes are Roger, Dave, and Todd. So the motion passes.
In one night.
So there you go.
So just
It's a
to,
big night for
so
me.
I'm gonna document it, it's $1,500 per employee,
Less the
less the
3
three
plus you.
in manager. So DM and 3, got
By the way,
You said the next paycheck is tomorrow. It's
Well,
two
whenever
days.
the next viable, whenever the next reasonable.
it. Yeah, we could do
Okay.
on another subject matter, sometimes they do a summer picnic. Is that going on this year?
No, that's out because of these.
it.
It's a great offer.
I'm all for the summer picnic. I think they should have more than one.
Yeah.
Are we already doing one?
I don't know.
Next
I've never
board
been to
meeting,
one.
It's not on the agenda. I hate to be a stickler on stuff, but
Okay.
I'm gonna, because of the last 6-hour meeting, I'm gonna be a stickler about keeping people in their swim lanes. I will let you go on so long and I will say motion or question. And that will be the end of that.
Well, are we done with tonight then?
No,
There's additional.
so I'm going to close out agenda item. I don't even know where I'm at. I think it was 5 or something like that, agenda item 5.
Yes.
And then we have a potential executive session. Someone has to make the
That
motion.
was, all right, I'll motion, I don't have the words. Motion to move into executive session for personnel.
Before we do that, are we allowed to do that in executive session? Have you reviewed what the basic thing on the agenda?
Yes,
Are we okay with that?
you can, it doesn't have to be an executive session.
Was it noticed 24 hours?
Oh, it was fine. It's all noticed properly. I just wanted to do the sanity check to make sure, look, I will ask him questions he would think are stupid, but after the last 4 years, they're really not stupid.
Yeah, so the agenda item is an executive session for discussion of personnel matters concerning Director Tyus. So if the board votes to go into executive session, it's an executive session. Director Tyus has the option, if he chooses, to have it conducted in open session.
Right.
So there's a
Okay, so-
two-step process.
So what needs to come first, his decision or the motion?
I have to say all that again, for motion to move into executive session for personal discussion of district manager Jeff Tice.
I will second. Discussion. Vote, all in favor of moving into executive session, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, we have 5 ayes, Denley, 0 nays. You're on.
Jeff,
Yes.
if you would like to have this conducted in an open session, you can make that decision. If you are comfortable with it being an executive session, closed doors, you can also accept that.
I accept executive session.
Okay, can you read the sacred words, please?
Yep. The district will adjourn into executive session as provided in the motion and take an electronic recording of the session to satisfy the open meeting law. On June 28th at 7:37 PM, the district has voted to convene in an executive session. For the record, I am Dylan Woods, attorney for the district. Also present at this executive session will be the directors and district manager Jeff Tyus. To satisfy the open meetings law, this executive session is being electronically recorded. The executive session is held for the following reasons: personnel discussion regarding district manager Jeff Tyus, subject to or pursuant to Colorado Revised Statutes 24-6-402 sub 4 sub F. I caution each participant to confine all discussions to the stated purpose of the executive session and that no formal action may occur in the executive session. We'll go on to, we'll close the open session, pause the recording, and resume the recording once only the executive session participants are present. I hereby attest that the electronic recording reflects the actual contents of the discussion at the executive session and has been made in lieu of writing minutes to satisfy the recording requirements of the open meetings law. I will instruct the district records retention authority to maintain and retain the tape in his possession for a 90-day period. The time is now 8:40. And we have concluded the executive session and returned to the open meeting. The participants in the executive session were the directors, myself, Dylan Woods, attorney for the district, and district manager Jeff Tyus. For the record, if any person who participated in the executive session believes that any substantial discussion of any matters not included in the motion to go into the executive session occurred during the executive session, or that any improper action occurred during the executive session in violation of the open meetings law, I would ask that you state your concerns for the record. Seeing none, the next agenda item is
Agenda item number 7, new business notifications for next board meeting. Do we have any additions?
Could this be my opportunity to ask questions?
No, your time is come and gone.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, I'm trying to balance my learning curve here. On the one hand, I know we want to be as transparent as possible. There's lots of rules that you have to be transparent. And on the other hand, there's things that be confidential. And it's like kind of that balance of where that's at. And the example that comes to mind, we just talked about tonight, is I had this conversation with this HR company, and they were saying that there was a law passed last year. I think I mentioned to you this Equal Pay for Equal Work Act. And I know it's one of the provisions at the end was, and this is all I've gotten, is, you know, one sheet of paper and talked about it for a few minutes. So I don't know what I'm talking about. So I'm wondering if you do. So one of the provisions are employers, which I feel myself is the employer in this case, are prohibited from preventing their employees from discussing compensation information with others or requiring any employees to sign a waiver prohibiting his or her ability to do the same. I just got this today. I sent it to Jeff. Jeff, have you sent it over to them?
Not yet, I will.
Okay.
So just real briefly
You can
to address your question,
Okay.
as it concerns distribution of information. There is no prohibition on directors circulating information to the directors. That does not implicate the Open Meetings Act.
What about the public?
Well, I'll get to that as well.
Okay.
But I think it's good policy for a director to provide the district manager information to be circulated to the board, and then for the district manager to circulate that BCC to the directors.
Yeah.
It is acceptable for a director to circulate information to the other directors, and if doing so, I would recommend that it be done via blind carbon copy also. What's prohibited is discussion of that information via email.
No replies.
Right, no reply all is sort of
Okay.
shorthand for that.
So in the example, the one that I did send to the manager, I also included the board. In that case, I should have done that BCC.
That's what I recommend, just because then you can't reply all.
Oh,
So
Yeah.
it short circuits that
really? If you do BCC, you can't do replies?
accident, right?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so you send it to yourself, you blind carbon copy the board, or you send it to Jeff, you blind carbon copy the board, or you send it to me. Some non-director receives it, and then all of the blind carbon copy people can't see all of the other people, so you can't reply all.
Good to know. Well, anyway, the mistake I'm wondering if I made today was, this file that we got, the Excel file. And I'm sitting there thinking, oh yeah, everything that comes into my computer, I just kind of read it all as a whole. And then it's occurring to me, does it make a difference as to what things I'm receiving I can share with the public and not? And so like when we came in today, and we're talking about salaries and stuff like that, and we have this employee over here, you know, and I'm assuming he's here for salaries and stuff like that. And I just read that message about, you know, we need to be kind of transparent on how to translate those provisions of the law. And so my first instinct was, oh, I can go ahead and share it with him. Now I'm going, was that okay?
Well, so in the context of that document specifically, anyone that attends a board meeting can see the things that are considered in the open session. That document specifically, I would consider work product, which would not be subject, for example, to a core request. So
Okay,
it's perfectly fine for someone to see it. There are things that it would not be perfectly fine for the public to see. Those are confidential things, health and medical records, for example, security sensitive things. I wouldn't want the public to see a very high level copy of the master plan, for example, as a infrastructure security concern. But they, you know, they can see the maps, they can see things like that. And again, in the context of this document specifically, that doesn't really implicate the prohibition on restricting employees from discussing salary. They're just not related issues.
yeah, that's what I was thinking as I'm looking back upon it. I was like, I'm not sure it was an issue or not. It's like, just don't know what I should have done like in that particular case.
Yeah. So, you know,
When in doubt, ask Ellen or
Yeah.
email.
Yeah.
Well, and that's why I was bringing it up. It's like a lot of times, wow, you screwed up. Well, okay, but at least let's learn from it.
yeah.
What was a mistake? What can I do next time? Sort of thing. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought anything of it. My explanation was that document was a part of the public budget and that is publicly available. And
This was on the
It
public
is.
doc-
yeah, that the only thing that is not public is the social security numbers. Names and everything are.
Personally identifying information. Yeah, I mean.
Well, their names on it. That's what occurred to me. You know, I come from a
Yeah,
government
so
background.
if I haven't looked at it, if that was part of the budget package, then yeah, it's already been circulated to the
No,
public.
it came out as, that's what's
It came out,
from,
that's why I asked, because for it to be pulled out of that, that's all it was.
yeah, it was that salary study, and I'm trying to remember what it looked like on my computer. I think it was a separate file, and was it mailed out separately? We all got it.
Did someone just knock on the door?
Is it locked?
No, it should be unlocked,
Yeah.
because we have a computer system that controls it.
Anyway, did you say that their names are on there? That's the part I wonder that might have been a screw up on my part.
That too is publicly available information.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah,
I wasn't sure.
everyone's a public employee. This is Cora Abol.
Okay, okay. Okay.
And it's the social security numbers. Oh, yeah.
There's a specific statutory definition for personally identifying information that
Okay.
release is prohibited for. Names is not.
But again,
Thank you for clarifying. In
You
retrospect,
want it
yeah, I was gonna say,
easy or not?
yeah, I was gonna say,
Yeah.
in retrospect, I'm not sure what I was getting out of that, other than I had nothing to do until everybody got here. Just
Yeah,
chatting with the employee.
There's the law and then there's best practices.
Yeah.
Yes. So,
Okay, do we have any new business for next meeting notifications?
can I suggest to put on the HR discussion? If anybody wants, do we want to make that a decision? Do we want to, a decision needs to be made, whether or not we want to entertain presentations or offers on such a thing.
I would like to make a motion for a special meeting, right? Or-
You could just call a special meeting.
I'd like to look at, I want us to have a special meeting where we bring in at least 3 different HR groups and then, we could submit those to Jeff, maybe Jeff maybe we pick, these things, maybe Jeff has one and we give him a half-hour time limit. Just to present to the board.
Yeah.
Have a short deck. I hate to get killed with PowerPoints all the time. It kind of like takes you down some kind of a river you don't want to be on. So maybe we just have them bring in a high level, like a few minute PowerPoint thing, like this is who we are, you know, and maybe Jeff, let me ask you, so do you kind of have a feel for what we're looking for? You know, when if we send these people to you and you're like, so the board is gonna want this kind of information.
Yes, and
We don't
keep in
wanna-
mind, I'll communicate with you guys, so I'll say, okay, we have these 3 HR groups that were recommended, and this is the outline of information, so I'll provide that outline, and then you could agree on that outline or not, and put your input on that.
Yeah, because we're not looking for an all up
Yeah.
HR thing. We want to be very finite and focused.
Okay.
So I don't want them rambling on about stuff we don't really care about.
And keep in mind, right now, we're using paid check too as an HR, so they might be able to do a presentation too.
Okay.
You know, because we're kind of using them, and we could build on that. So we'll definitely look at Director Rickman's, you know, so I guess I can send that out to everybody, and then you can.
I have one that, like I said, I'm not invested in them other than, you know, there was someone I looked at. I know Dave has one. He just talked about that. Maybe we bring in 3 or 4, half hour, 2 hours, you know. We want to go forward with it or not.
I would ask everybody to bring the things they want to accomplish with the company and see if they are going to be doing it, because everybody had a different idea of what was going to be going on.
So maybe we need to supply that to Jeff prior to the meeting. And we come up with bullet points that then would go out to these HR groups so they can then develop their presentation to meet those specifics. Rather, I hate people that, you know, they're trying to sell a product and you don't want that. You want it to be pretty finite. So maybe we all individually, when we submit, if we set up the meeting, we come up with a few HR people and then we submit the questions to them. And I would encourage you to also be part of that.
Yes, no problem. And then I can send a reminder email out too that, hey, please send us your information on what your bullet points are for an HR company to address.
Well, I'll second the motion.
Okay, so discussion. I just want to say maybe we make this in, I think somewhere in July after the 4th, you know, after the next meeting.
I hope after the
Well,
4th.
I just want to give us a little bit of time, and I want a cautionary tale to the new directors that August and September, things start really cranking up for all kinds of things the board has to do. So I don't want to add any more stress to it gets pretty, August will start ramping things up, and I want to have our deck cleared by then.
Would there be any benefit in doing this during the daytime?
He works.
Well, I
She
can,
works, she has a
I work on and off, but, and at the end of July, I will be gone, anyway, and actually the middle of August too, maybe during this next August meeting. But I do not have any, questions to forward. I don't know that this is going to help us solve the problems that we're at, so I will be content watching what you guys want to do here.
if you need to meet during the week, I mean, I can do that.
Okay,
I only have
so
8,000 vacation hours and I haven't been going on vacation, so.
This is a vacation, let's do it.
Oh, well, then I've been on vacation, didn't even know it.
This is what we call a state.
I will say this, I guess I'd rather see it in the evening because Jeff has his district business during the day. We have staff in here. And I think we will impact them somehow.
That's fine.
We're gonna impact them.
Just
anyway.
thinking out loud.
I know, I would just rather, you know, Jeff's got to do his day job, right? So.
All right, I'll make sure it's on the agenda. I'll list the bullet points and ideas on HR organizations.
So further discussion, no further discussion, call for vote on the special meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all 5, Danley, all 5 directors have approved the meeting. And I think we need to look at 1 week after the next board meeting.
Great, so the next board meeting is July 12th, so 7 and 12 is around, somewhere around July 19th.
Yeah, you
Does
might,
that work for you?
I didn't.
and you might have to wait to schedule until you hear from the companies.
Yeah.
So
Well, yeah.
they can make their presentations.
Tentative, I'll just say tentative, so, okay.
All right.
Any other, anything new business for the next meeting?
Yes, I don't know if it's business for the board, but I did want to talk about that overtime, and you just alluded to it, on the overtime. I wanted to make sure, this isn't really something for the board, but as long as Mr. Tice is aware that we do a lot of overtime with these board meetings and things and emergencies. It seems like there could be comp time versus not comp time, but a 40
It's
hour
called
week.
flex time.
Flex time, so that if you get called out, if you have to do a meeting and they're not stuck in here, sort doing overtime. I don't know if they have that option, but
So we
I
could make
would just-
that pretty easy, I think, and Dylan, maybe you could look into that, where maybe we just put this on the board meeting. We can vote on it to make it official. But in lieu of taking overtime, your staff could like flex. So if they worked 8 hours, they could flex 8 hours.
Go ahead.
And that's kind of a new wave benefit. Some people don't want the overtime money. They'd rather take the time off, so.
Yeah, the 7 years I was at Rapid Water, that was right on our sheet, the time card if you wanted to flex the OT.
We gotta hurry. We need to be out by 9.
I know, I'm working on it. Okay, anything else
What is the deadline for a new business?
right now?
I mean, this is it, I couldn't submit something 3 days from now.
Sure.
Well, I'll send out an agenda. You can add to it.
Okay.
So I'll send so the next board meeting is July 12th. I'll send the agenda out and just reply back. Also add this.
You want to give at least 72 hours notice, 24. So you can get, we don't like to run it up that close, but if it's that important, you just 24 hours before the meeting.
Yeah, I'm sending out the agendas tomorrow for July 12th. So I usually send the agendas out almost 2 weeks in advance.
So you can
To the
modify it.
directives.
Just to,
Or
just the directors, so you can add to the agenda.
Okay.
You can add.
the policy was we could all add individually and then vote by majority to take it off, and that way we didn't have to agree to talk about it.
Anything further? Okay, I will motion to adjourn the meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, call for vote. All in favor of ending the meeting, say aye. Aye. We have 5 yeses and 0 nays. Annalee, thank you. Staff, thank you. Jeff, thank you.
Before anybody leaves,
You guys have a good night.
Thank you.
on a personal note, if anybody is interested, I have a timeshare condo up in Vale. And I got it for purposes of my, kids to use and stuff like that. And I have it for the July 4th weekend. And my kids are gonna be using it for the weekend, Friday through Monday. But the rest of the week, which is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, they're not using it. And so if anybody would like to use it, you can have it for free, because otherwise it's going to waste. So just let me know if you want to go up to Vale for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, some that time frame.
That's nice of you. Thank you, Dave. Appreciate that.
I didn't have to work.
Can
It's in
I,
the way of my life.
one more thing to ask you to look at, and that was that, can you look at that overtime? There were 2 employees who accounted for a third of the real time, which just seemed a lot to me.
See you all next time.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything. Have a safe trip.
No problem. I'll look at 2 employees accounting for 1/3 of the overtime.
That was for whatever it was last year, that was what caught my eye on overtime.
I think what they do is they volunteer to do on call. And
Okay.
so some people volunteer more to do on call. But I'll check it, so.
Hopefully, the person being on call is the most expensive person on staff. We could get another volunteer. There's an option. I think there's-
Yes, thank you. Yes, I'll make sure I do better. So thank you.
Well, hopefully we'll be better.
Thank
We
you
can all get better, right?
Well, we're making improvement. We're out an hour earlier tonight.
Well, we're out.
The last time we went to 10, right?
Well, we went to midnight. Close to midnight.
Was it midnight?
Pretty close.
So 6 hours, 6 o'clock plus 6 hours, midnight. Yeah, that was long.
Okay, good night. Thank you, Director.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you, Director Big.
Thank you, Mr. Titus, for all you do.
I promise.
Thanks.
See, tell me what I can do better, and I'll make it work, I promise.
You're making it all work.
You're doing great.
Appreciate
No, no, trust me, I'll do better, I promise. I'm,
I
yeah, trust me. You can tell me anything, I'll do it better.
really appreciate it.
Yeah, anytime,
Just
anytime.
grateful we got you on board.
Oh, no, I'll.
Jesse, thank you for everything.
You guys done?
We're done.
Oh, did- call me.
Sorry. This kind of close out executive session, we're done. Thank you.
The recording got restarted again?
Yeah. Oh. Thank you, Director Hooks.
No, thank you.